Awesome. I think we can just kick things off. So, hey everyone, thanks for taking the time to join this highly anticipated AMA. Off the back of our latest Dev Diary update last Friday, there's a lot of questions from the community, as to be expected, and we hope today we can shed some light and transparency on the direction of GOG. Today, obviously, I have a man who needs no introduction, but of course, we have Chris Clay, the VP of Game Design at Immutable. We originally did have Andrew Friday and Daniel Steffens to join us today. However, due to the context of today's AMA, we decided to answer some of the questions related to the latest Dev Diary update. And next week, we're also going to be hosting another AMA, but that one's going to be a bit more game focused. So if you have any questions relating to the game, how things are going to work there, next week might be the better chance to get your question answered if we don't get the chance to today. But yeah, other than that, I think we can just get right into things, Clay, if you're good on your end.
Yeah, definitely good on my end. Let's kick it off. And again, thank you to everyone for being here.
Yeah, 100%. And before I start things off, there is a channel, AMA Chat 23rd May. We'll be monitoring that chat if anyone wants to talk in there or ask things. But we are going to be doing our best to get through as many questions as possible today. But if we can't, we'll make sure we'll try and do it through written or next week as well. So I think the first question, so why did we decide to not just continue making GOG as a dungeon crawler and making this an order battler as another game entirely where we can use our GOG heroes? So we can both keep the OGs invested in what they want and also add value to the assets as they'll be usable in another game.
Yeah, so the long and short of it is based on our feedback on the previous demo, we discovered that the game feel was just not high enough quality to meet our ambitious vision for GOG. Challenges there when I joined the project led to a deep dive into the code base, the economy, the overall project, which led us to consider what could be developed on a reasonable time frame, with our original development partner. Ultimately, we wanted to ensure that we could ship a game to our community in a reasonable time frame with a good chance of success. A fun mobile squad RPG was at the core of the project, and we made the decision to evolve our gameplay as a result. We made the call to make significant changes to where we are today. Essentially, new partner, new code base, new gameplay loop, new economy design. In the original white paper, we set out what we wanted to do, which is disrupt the squad RPG genre against competitors like Epic 7 and AFK Arena. And with this change, we're very focused on retaining the key parts of the executive summary. For those who don't remember, because white papers are huge, number one, a fun mobile RPG game. And we retain that core goal of a fun mobile RPG, with deep strategy, dynamic trading economy metagame, and socially focused gameplay that keeps players engaged for years. Like, that hasn't changed. Like, there is that switch from action RPG and the plan to have an action RPG to in this having the battles take place with AI control primarily. There's still player input there, but like that fun mobile RPG is still there. I think there's a little bit of a misconception that I don't know exactly how it translated that we're an auto battler like Elderym, but that is absolutely not the case. You're still running dungeons, still playing with a squad of heroes. It is definitely still an RPG. The other one, play and earn mechanics. We do believe that we'll be expanding on the accessibility of the play and earn mechanics with an additional focus on onboarding players into the economy. We've been spending a lot of time internally and working with MindLoader on this really key challenge of taking players on a journey from Web 2 initially to easing them into the Web 3 economy, because right now Web 3 economies introduce a ton of friction into the mix, and if you put that friction up front, it really challenges adoption. And this is a key goal for Guild of Guardians, to take players on that journey through a game that they can enjoy first and foremost, but then get into this deeper world that most of us here have been experiencing in Web3. When it comes to the third focus, community-driven incentives, our team absolutely remains committed to innovating in the Web3 space when it comes to how we work with builders in the community and to ensure that creators and builders who are enhancing the GOG ecosystem are able to grow along with us. And the last of those four primary executive goals was highly accessible. A key element of this change was looking at the mobile space as a whole and ensuring that we're delivering a game that will delight and fit within the lifestyle of as many players as possible. And a lot of where some of this shift came from was taking a step back and looking at how players engage with mobile games. For those of you who don't know, I spend a fair bit of time commuting on trains, watching how my kids play and watching how their friends play. And a lot of gaming on mobile in particular is parallel play. It's play when people are engaged in some other activity, be it picking up your phone and working on advancing something in a mobile game during a meeting, being it playing on your phone while you're watching TV with your family, being it playing on your phone while you're at dinner or out at restaurants. And one of the key bits for me with GOG was allowing that parallel play. Because that's where I see the majority of gamers engaging. I'm not saying that some don't engage in a completely focused manner, but I believe this is a much wider market, which I think really enhances that highly accessible nature of the project. And yeah, I think that's question one.
Yeah, I think that gives a lot of background. I think just to also tap into exactly, I think what also this question is also asking, simply put, is like what's kind of stopping us from just continuing on like with another mini game, perhaps just like a ARPG. Like, is that just a question of resources? Will it be too complex? What are your thoughts on that?
When it comes to the path that the previous incarnation that GOG was on, if there was a viable path ahead, this potentially could have been on the table. But with all of my experience, I didn't see that. We don't make this change lightly. It would have been, far easier to not go through all of the work that the design team, the economy team, the work of vetting all of the different potential partners, to arrive at this. But it never, for me, and I believe the team as a whole, was a choice of, do we do both? I just don't think that was a viable path ahead. Some of that is just splitting focus too. Is there potential for more games in the GOG ecosystem moving forward? Absolutely. Was it a viable path to deliver on the project as it was and this? It was not.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think in an idealistic world, we'd have like another 1, 2, 3 GOG games being made at the same time, where we have like one NFT that can be kind of like cross-compatible across all these games, right? But I think when it comes to realistic like projects and everything that we're doing, the team identified the viable paths wasn't there. So hopefully that kind of clears up that question and why we're not building something alongside. But yeah, thanks for that, Claire. I think it's a great answer. So moving on, when did Immutable know changes were coming to GOG, and when did you share? When did you decide to share with the community? And how are we going to rebuild trust with the community? So some of the questions are like really long, so we're like cutting them down a bit just to get to the core question. But yeah, take it away, Claire.
Yeah, and some of this too is if you want to go into the AMA space and look at the questions, one of the challenges as a developer is when people are bringing a lot of negative energy to the space, we have to take that step back, translate the question into what are the core things that people are looking to get, and trying to focus in on that constructive energy in the questions. So when did Immutable know that changes were coming to GOG, and when did you share? So as soon as it was clear that we were going to be making changes, we shared with the community, nearly immediately. A lot of this was up into the air, in through February. And as soon as it was clear we were going to shift from previous partner to MindLoader, we ran a town hall and we shared everything that we were pretty certain of at that moment of time. If I think back to that town hall, we shared the things that we were sure on in terms of the core loop changes, the adjustments to the roguelike, the adjustment to the match and merge economy. It was, basically in line with where we were at. And even here, with this AMA, with this dev diary, as it became clear that the changes were taking place to the genre from action RPG to squad-based RPG, and we've shared it, as it happens, as much as we can. When it comes to rebuilding trust with the community, that's hard. And for a lot of the complaints from the community, a lot of the negativity, I absolutely understand that as a gamer myself. And to deliver on that, it really comes down to delivery. We have to ensure, I believe, a higher level of transparency. And some of that comes down to a term I use a lot in the office, but it's radical candor. It is being open and honest about the challenging things that the game is facing, even when that isn't comfortable to share. And a lot of what we've been sharing with the community through that isn't necessarily comfortable to share. This is definitely a hard path to go down. It's not a decision that we make lightly. But I believe what the community will see is consistent progress. I think in Discord yesterday, some people were saying, like, why would you share some of the screenshots of work in progress that we've been sharing? And some of it is that goal of transparency. What you will see is some of the screens, that are coming through from just 12 weeks of development through to the beautiful corner coming at the end of June. You're going to see the game evolve around that. And I believe that is where we will rebuild momentum, we will rebuild trust. It's by showing meaningful progress in what we're building, what we're delivering. And ultimately, it's getting the players' hands on what MindLoader is building with us so they can feel it. It's one thing to talk about it. It's one thing to design it. But ultimately, you don't know how it's going to play until you can feel it. And getting players' hands on this squad-based RPG that we're playing, I think is going to be where it really comes into focus, and that trust really starts to rebuild.
Yeah, it's a great point you made about the leaks, about how we shared the MindLoader's progress of like 10 weeks, and then some people like, hey, why would you even share this? And there's always a fine balance between trying to be transparent and then people being like, hey, this isn't what a game should look like, right? But I think a lot of people, even myself, before kind of join like a game, before you see like a game behind the scenes, you don't actually see how most things look like with like placeholder things or just how scrappy things can look like. It reminds me of that GTA leak that happened, and then everyone's like, losing their minds because the game's not at like an polished state. Yeah, that's a great answer, Clay. So for the next question,
just one of the things too, like to because Arrogant has like transparency could have been shared when announcing the new dev studio though, and this is the catch-22 here, where we shared. I shared, what I knew to be true at the time, and it is a rock hard place problem in game development of when you want us to share immediately, it is uncooked, and things are more raw, and all of the answers aren't there. And even today, with like the dev diary update, things remain, not fully cooked because we're trying to share as quickly as we can as these changes come through the pipeline. On the other side of things, there is a desire to know every single last detail, exactly how will all of these things work. And if we're going to be there, we can't share things as they happen. We have to wait until the decisions are fully made. And it is a challenging place to be in because I would love to be in the place where we could share, complete details on every little last part of the game that we're working to build. But we can't do that, day and date to when we're starting to make decisions around it. So I would beg patience as we try to navigate that delicate balance between the two asks from the community.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Clay. So I think the next question is moving on to like the market share, or the market outlook of this new genre. So the question is, did you take into account how many games of both genres were out? If there are thousands of auto battlers and only a few to almost none ARPGs on mobile, isn't it quite normal that there are more players on auto battler in comparison to ARPG?
Yeah, so this is tricky. At a very high level, in all of my years of development, when you look at various genres, you look at how you're going to get in and disrupt them. What I think you'll see as a repeating pattern is there's typically a winner. There's one game that is the dominant force that has the most people playing, most downloads. You've got then typically a couple of follow-ups in second and third place. But after third place, almost universally, there's a deep drop-off in engagement. Sometimes you have niche products that can survive sort of in that 4th through 10th place. And depending on the size of things, those niche games can, be quite successful. But really what you want to look at is, how dominant the main player is. And the squad RPG space is highly fragmented right now by our analysis, which provides more room for new entrants to break in. Which is why we believe this is a great opportunity space for Guild of Guardians. Comparatively, other RPG subgenres such as ARPG are more dominated by those key players. For example, top 5 games in ARPGs dominate 43% of total downloads. In Squad RPG, the top 5 games only contributed to 24% of the total Squad RPG downloads. This is downloads, not necessarily DAU, so it's a little bit different as a metric. Some of those DAU numbers are harder to track down. And we believe that the Squad RPG space is ready for a key disruptor, and we're aiming to give Guild of Guardians as many strong elements as we can to help us stand out and really succeed. Obviously, ownership NFTs will be a key differentiating factor. As well, having a marketplace for those NFTs, the complex merge and crafting economy on top of a beautiful and fun game, I believe will give us an excellent opportunity to rise to the top.
Awesome, Clay. Thanks for that clarification. So the next question is, how have you been updating the community throughout the process of making the genre switch?
Yeah, I guess this harkens back to question 1, but from my side, I believe we have been open with the community throughout the process. During the Discord town hall in March, we confirmed that we were restarting the code base, with MindLoader. They were adding those roguelike elements, that we were looking to expand the crafting economy with merge systems. And as we've locked in systems and a clear plan to launch this year with MindLoader, we've shared further details, obviously, with this dev update. I do believe that transparency is important, and yeah, we'll keep it going. Yeah, that's a pretty short one.
Yeah, no worries. I think that transparency factor is, it's a big buzzword, but I think it is, we try to stay true to it as much as possible. Like, it isn't easy with this AMA, with all the changes happening and answering everyone's concerns and questions. But also next week, we're actually going to be having another AMA back to back. And obviously, getting everything done in time with MindLoader takes a lot of work in the behind the scenes, right, Clay? But you're actually taking the time to kind of actually come out to the community and talk to them. and we're doing our best on that end. So the next question is regarding guilds. So with changes to the game, how are you keeping promises to guilds in the community and crafting equipment, and ensuring guilds have a key role in the game and economy?
Yeah, this is a tricky one. I want to be clear that yeah, the promises around equipment, I believe, remain unchanged. Guilds will be the only source of crafted equipment NFTs for sale on the marketplace. Um, and some of when I talk about that spectrum of sharing where we're at and sharing when all the details are sorted, guilds, we do not have all of the details sorted. But when we look at the crafting economy, there is a lot of space in the new economy to ensure that guilds have a major part to play in the overall economy. When we look at things like the advanced crafting materials that people will use for equipment, guilds can play a key part there, be it through efficiency, be it through additional generators to help guilds and members of guilds craft those materials. This is a tricky one, though, for me coming into the project, and I think for those working on the project, because guilds are going to support, at present, about 45,000 players being in guilds. And I think at face value, when you look at the economy, we want guilds to play a major part. We want it to matter to be a part of guilds. But only a subset of the market or the players in the game will be able to join guilds as it stands. And that creates a tricky breakpoint. Your gamers are flexible. Gamers will use different means to meet their needs. But if they can't advance through the sort of game and economy on their own to an extent, if they're hitting this brick wall of guilds and they cannot join one, this is a very tricky inflection point. Happy to continue to iterate on this, with the community and more, but it seems to me that there is this idea that if guilds are the only source of any equipment in the game at all, it will lead to a lot of profit for the guilds. But I really question how many people are going to engage in that economy. And even in the game that I played previously, equipment was dropped through dungeon runs. We are definitely not. We're definitely sticking to the promise of not selling equipment ourselves. We want guilds to be that source of traded equipment. But this is a challenging piece. And I
Awesome.
absolutely don't I see in chat people saying guilds are worthless now. Definitely don't agree with that statement.
Yeah, and I think as time goes on, I think it's also important that it's been like what 10, 11 weeks into the transition of MindLoader, and I think as time continues to go on, we're only going to be able to share more and more details of how, the value that guilds bring and how things now are going to stand. Um, awesome, guys. Yeah, we're doing our best to also multitask and read the chat at the same time. So the next question is, so this is a bit more to the story side. We all love a good story. So how will the shift in development impact the overall narrative and storytelling aspects of Guild of Guardian?
Yeah, so this is a place where we've really been enhancing. When with Guild of Guardians, there was lore there, but it wasn't fully baked. A lot of what we've been working on over the last 6 to 7 months is in investing in the world that is Guild of Guardians. It's building the rule set behind how it is set up. A lot of this comes down to how we work with MindLoader and how we achieve more speed So when it comes to narrative, when it comes to storytelling, when it comes to world building, a lot of the world building was happening sort of ad hoc in the previous incarnation, where as we needed something to explain a character like Morax, we would do that on the fly. And where we're at now is we're much better set up to let our partners basically run with the world building, because we've created the worlds for them to work within. That takes us out of being a key gate in moving development forward. When we look at Guild of Guardians and storytelling and narrative and lore moving forward, we're investing in this more heavily in the current version. Previously, there was no main storyline. We have developed a main storyline which players can dive into through comic-esque cutscenes, the alliteration there, in each dungeon, as well as other story scenes, connected to gameplay. So like Morax, getting excited over a treasure room, Guardians interacting with each other, so that depending on the Guardians you have going through a dungeon, having them call out each other, through the experience. We're also looking at how we can integrate the storylines into something we're calling memories, where players, as they progress through the endless dungeon mode, once you get through that main dungeon storyline, how we can reveal more of the backstory, more of just the deep experience and world building that is now present in Guild of Guardians. So we're adding in a lot more layers when it comes to that world building aspect. I shared an image in Discord yesterday, which unintentionally showed some of the screens on world building that we were sharing with MindLoader on the trip. And again, I want to index on the relationship with MindLoader and this ability for us to unblock them. So a lot of the initial MindLoader trip was focused on reaching alignment on art, on VFX, on animation, and to a great extent on design, so that MindLoader could move forward very quickly without us having to be there at every decision point to check in. The ability for a developer to really quickly test and iterate is the difference between an okay game and a great game. And I have a lot of faith in the team at MindLoader. The people on the core leadership team have been working together for over 20 years. These are people who really know games, and that gives me a lot of confidence in their ability to push this ahead. So in the previous setup, a lot of the decision-making had been held internally at Immutable, which slowed down the overall process. So that's a key change in how we're working with our partner moving forward. Sorry, that was a long answer on the storytelling stuff and delved into a couple other bits.
Yeah, no, it's a great point about the storytelling.
There you go.
I think you mentioned that previously there was no really main narrative or that much of a focus in the original Guild Guardians that we were building. But now there's more of the story integrated in the game. The Guardians actually interacting with each other in the game. The personality, for example, like how you said, Morax is being excited about finding church in a room. I think these are all amazing additions. Whenever we play a game, just adds to that immersive feel and like the connection you actually feel with the players and the whole game itself. And being behind the scenes, like I don't actually directly work with the narrative much, but I have been looped in, and I can tell you that there's a lot of time and energy actually being spent in making shorts and really, really immersive stories. So I think it's going to definitely be a super exciting, thing, super exciting lore for people to kind of dive into as time goes on. So the next question is regarding the original ARPG concept. So are there any plans to incorporate some elements from the original ARPG into the revamped version of Guild of Guardians? What would make this game fun over other existing auto battle games if we take out the reward component?
Yeah, so, yes, we are definitely retaining some elements. GOG, remains a squad-based RPG at its core. And, we're continuing to evolve, various aspects of that to ensure that this all lives up to our vision, for GOG. It is a key point, but it is an inflection of in the previous incarnation. Most of the squad was AI driven, and yes, the remaining character is now AI driven, and some of this came from looking at the stats out of many of the dungeon runs, where typically the human-controlled guardian was the least performant of everyone, and trying to achieve this goal of that key inflection point here that we're discussing with the community of going from action RPG to squad-based roguelike RPG comes from trying to increase accessibility while keeping as much of the original project in place. You're still delving into dungeons. You now have a roguelike system instead of static dungeons. So in the previous version, every time you ran the dungeon layout was exactly the same. You knew
Sorry, still there, Clay?
every time you go through because of those random elements. Yep, what's up?
Oh, no, I think you just cut out for a second there. I think you're back, though. All good.
When did what cut out?
I think the last 5 to 10 seconds, maybe, just on my end anyways. Yeah, you should be good. You should be good.
Okie dokie. And a lot of when it comes to the original, it is trying to build upon what was there and extend it. So quick summary, because I don't know what cut out. So the action part of the RPG is obviously different, but the RPG is still there. Still delving into dungeons, but through a roguelike system instead of static dungeons. Your Guardians still have ultimate abilities, but we're extending that to include additional skills they can play and passive abilities. So before basic attack sequence and ultimate, now Guardians will have unique skills and passive abilities they can bring into the mix. This opens up a bunch of possibility space to differentiate between Guardians and for players to make deeper strategic choices on squad makeup than were previously available. And this is a key point when we look at founder Guardians, founder NFTs, and Guardians that we'll be adding into the mix moving forward. It's important to note that it's not just the star value of the Guardian, that the level of the Guardian. Each Guardian will have their own set of skills and abilities, which will continue to differentiate them from others. Each Guardian will have its own stats and growth of stats that will differentiate it from others. This is a key part of ensuring that the founder NFTs have a key place in the meta moving forward. When it comes to what makes a game experience enjoyable, so much of it does come down to the possibility space created by all the choices players are able to make. And many squad RPGs right now have a pretty frustrating linear progression. You can either progress through the next stage because you have enough power or you don't. Some of what I see by adding the roguelike elements into GOG is the choices that players make as they navigate will ensure will make a meaningful difference in how deep they can delve and what rewards they get out of each run. And how you process those rewards outside of it. I think will make a difference as well. Few RPGs have a merge and craft system like we do. Definitely don't have NFT marketplaces integrated, and how players are choosing to spend their time, effort, energy, rewards, and their income on upgrading it. GOG will have a rich possibility space here for players to explore. And I guarantee that anyone who continues to stick with us and listen to me and AMAs and otherwise moving forward, I will keep going back to possibility space as a key element that I look for in any game's design, because it is the difference between players sticking for years and players burning out.
Also,
Did I answer all that? That was a lot.
Yeah, that was a lot. But I think people appreciate the detail in the answer there. And I also found one of the comments amusing. I think someone said it's annoying Ryan seems to be happy when he talks. So I think just to answer that, like I think I completely understand that, how the community sentiment is regarding, the changes and how everyone feels. That's definitely 100% not discrediting anything. Just to clarify, that's just how I am, just trying to have a nice time with everyone in the community, although some people are not fully happy with the changes, right? As you'd expect with anything. But yeah, found that comment amusing. So the next question is, since the pivot means previous white paper is redundant, are we going to get another white paper to to explain to explain the new utilities of each NFT? What happened to guilds, pets, and energy boosters? If not, how and when can we learn about their new utilities?
Uh, so yeah, we are currently in the process of updating the white paper. We want to ensure that we update the community as soon as possible on our developmental direction of the game and choose. We chose to basically share this uh, dev diary and run this AMA while we were updating the existing documentation, website, channels, and we will make an announcement once we've updated the white paper. At a high level, when it comes to things like the energy tokens, when it comes to things like pets, we're working to ensure that in the new GOG, they align as completely with their original promises as we can. So pets adding, passive bonuses into the Guardians through a dungeon. Energy still plays a key role throughout the economy. It plays a role in crafting, it plays a role in merging, it plays a role in dungeon running. So energy tokens will absolutely still have a place, and guilds, of course, will still have a key place within the overall ecosystem. Guilds are something that we will continue to expand on after an initial launch. I think guilds are going to be a key piece of the long-term sort of like end state gameplay. Um, but yes, TLDR white paper update is on the way. And when it comes to Ryan's energy or my energy, if we seem happy or engaged, a lot of it is I am, and I believe the whole team is really excited by what we're building with Guild of Guardians. I look forward to you guys getting a chance to meet Andrew Friday next week. I am very excited to be working with MindLoader. I was already really impressed by their work with us going in to this initial development, just the process of vetting the project and what they believe they could deliver. I've been incredibly impressed with their progress so far, even into this first milestone. They're ahead of schedule. They have delivered more in the first deliverable than was originally planned. And a key piece of it for me is when you're working with a partner, it's very easy to fall into the trap of them just delivering what you give to them. But working with MindLoader has really been a collaborative process. If they think they can make something better, they will suggest it back. An interesting example there is when we talk about roguelikes, in some roguelikes, they're artifacts. For us, they're runes. As you're going through the roguelike portion of the dungeon, you're getting temporary bonuses which impact the performance of your guardians. So we knew we were going to have runes, but what MindLoader proposed as something that, we'll see if it makes it all the way to final or not, but they proposed adding Tetris piece layouts to the runes. So as they fit into your sort of rune loadout, rather than just having a limit of 6 or 7 or 8 that you have to choose from, it creates its own minigame in and of itself on how you choose your rune layout and whether you choose to replace one for the other and sort of optimize. And little key pieces like that enhance that possibility space. I love it when I'm working with a partner that is looking for opportunities to improve the overall game.
Yeah, and I think speaking of Andrew Friday, if anyone missed it, next week we will definitely be having him on for a more game-focused AMA. He's the executive producer of blockchain gaming at MindLoader, and I think he can shed a lot more light into how MindLoader operates and the future direction of the game as well. So the next question is, Will there be any opportunities for players to provide feedback and influence the development decisions as the game progresses in its new direction?
Uh, yeah, absolutely. Like even just the feedback that we've been getting from the community or around this dev update is that feedback is uh, being processed, and we're looking at where we integrate that into our overall design. Anytime you pitch something and you see how people respond to it, it gives you pause and time to sort of reflect. Um, so I do want to dive into here what we're doing with the new Guild of Guardians and the Beautiful Corner. So for anybody who doesn't know the terminology, a Beautiful Corner is essentially 2 hours or so of gameplay that gives you a true feel for the project. It's not something that you can play endlessly, but it is meant to cover all of the key systems in a shallow but wide way to ensure that what you're building is going to actually be fun and sustainable. And what this comes down to is with a Beautiful Corner, when you get together as a development team and you play through it, you know that you've got a solid core when you get through an hour-long playtest, and at the end of the playtest, everyone wants to keep playing. And that's why it's roughly 2 hours of gameplay and not just one. Uh, but you need to hit that point with a project where it's clear that it's working. And if it's not, the Beautiful Corner is an opportunity to, in a much scaled down portion of the game, iterate quickly on it until you reach that stage when you play through it and you have those hooks. Like your brain is looking at how I solve these puzzles to delve further in. Like it has that, you know, that ability to draw you into the world. And with the Beautiful Corner that we're looking to hit milestone-wise at the end of June, um, we will be doing that internally. We will be pulling in players from the community, from the esports teams, from some of our partners, to basically play it and provide feedback to see that if it's not just us, but it's also the wider community that is seeing that potential in the Beautiful Corner. And like anything, we have the plan to reach it. We believe these systems are going to be the right things that are going to get us there, but we won't know until we actually play it. And that Beautiful Corner is going to be a key inflection point in the project of getting it through until it's right. And those iterative cycles may be weeks, it may be slightly longer, but that's something that we can do very openly, with the community as we go through that very limited test. I would call it more like an alpha test than anything. And I can easily commit to being open about how that is going. Why that is so important to me is you need to get that right before you go wide and deep and build out all the rest of the content. If you don't have that Beautiful Corner and you start going wide, you do get some of the challenges that we saw with the previous incarnation of the game, in that you're trying to make the game fun when you've got hundreds of dungeons and you've got a lot of characters, and those iterative cycles are very difficult to work through. And then you've got a lot of wasted time and effort on things that are being built without that solid context, without that core to build beyond. So Beautiful Corner is going to be a key state and step, and as we reach that, this is also where I know my marketing team is excited for us to reach it, because we will be able to share more videos and more complete examples of what we're trying to do. And again, show that progress from where we're at today to that is just a couple short months away. And seeing that rate of change, I believe, is where we will earn more trust from the community on what we're trying to do here.
And that isn't too far away at all. And I think you're right. Like, it's not just going to be the community; it's going to be the marketing team when it says like when leaks Clay. So don't worry, guys. We're definitely going to Clay's back to make sure that we get to get as much great progress screenshots and videos that we can to share with the community. So the next question, Clay, is: can you talk us through the new mechanics? Elaborate on the specific gameplay elements and features. What happens actually happens like during a fight, right? And I think here we should have a PowerPoint presentation, Clay. If you wanna, I think we should be able to share our screen. So just bear with us, guys. Let's try and. I think we have a share the screen on. on a Townhall before. It's revolutionary stuff. Claire, do you want to give it a go and see if you can get your screen shared? All right, awesome. Yep, I can see that.
All right, I'm going to give everyone a second because I guess you have to click the link for it to come live. So we'll give it a
Yeah,
go.
yeah. Some people needs a bit of time for it to load up. But I think that's the most updated version now.
All right, I see that marketing has done a go of taking this out of my update to the internal team to a wider audience. So here we go. So GOG update. So yeah, here we've gone from some of my specific dates into the general timeline. So you can translate those into where we're at now. We've got the MindLoader partnership. We're going into that beautiful corner, getting those key pieces of gameplay. You're refined and hitting that core goal of a demo experience where at the end of it you're really wanting more, letting us know that we can go into full production on the rest of the project and take it all the way into that limited beta, which will expand on those systems, from auto battle, heroes, the integration of equipment and NFTs, the summoning system for the Guardians, getting that story mode into it, and probably one of the most challenging in many ways, particularly with mobile, those Web3 integrations, into the overall ecosystem. One of the things that we're working really closely with the Passport and the Immutable platform team on is how we can get as close to possible to what players experience today when it comes to friction when you want to solve problems with your game. So I think the ideal is we can compete with the Web 2 solve. If I want to purchase something, I double click, I look at my phone. I don't think we're going to be there at start, but that's the thing that I'm trying to keep our focus on. That's what we're trying to compete with in the Web 2 space. Obviously, NFTs and marketplaces add a lot of power into the mix, but when it comes to friction, we want to balance all of that out. So that Web3 integrations and limited beta is going to be a key focus. And then as we go into open beta launch, storefront, when it comes to leaderboards and gem rewards, when I talk about that endless dungeon, your ability to dive as deep as possible into that endless dungeon to rise up the leaderboards, to hit those reward points as we're running those events through live, deeper NFT utility integrations into the project, and one of the challenges with the mobile space is there are a lot of different devices across both Android and iOS, and looking as much as possible to expand the space of devices that we're able to launch successfully and to really optimize the UX UI. Correct, Krem. Q4 this year is absolutely the target, and this is something that we've really been laser focused on with the project. As we look at this timeline, there's always the opportunity to add more into the mix. We could add more features, more depth, but if that's going to put us at risk of pushing out that timeline, a key goal for us is to get the game live rather than achieve absolute perfection before we push it out. That is a delicate balancing act. As a very wise game developer once said, you only get one opportunity to go live. Mobile's perhaps a little bit different in that you can go live in certain regions and not others as you look to refine the experience in. But absolutely Q4. And Gaz, like on that note, and this is some of that sterilization that happens. The game is not going to be complete in Q4. Every single system and feature will not be in the game in Q4. But we will have all of the key features in terms of that MVP Lite 2 to launch the game in Q4. Additional systems will absolutely have to come online in 2024. And I don't believe development will stop in 2024. There's still additional work that we've got in the mix with MindLoader, even beyond that February date to bring things to life. A little bit about MindLoader themselves. Again, They have over 20 years of game development experience, working with AAA game studios. The team itself, core team, came out of Konami at Japan. But they've worked with Ubisoft, Square Enix, EA, 2K Games, Bandai Namco, Capcom, Rockstar, Warner Brothers, and Ubisoft, just to name a few. You've seen their work in The Last of Us, Final Fantasy Online, Resident Evil, in Assassin's Creed. And they have a very wide breadth of experience. A lot of their work has come on that art side of things, and if nothing else, Guild of Guardians is going to be a beautiful game by the time it launches. Obviously, some of the screens and some of the videos we released are work in progress, but in the last 12 weeks, we have essentially gone from getting them access to all of the art assets, all of the repositories, to what you see today. So they've had to take all of those assets, integrate them into the system. They've done a great job of overhauling a lot of the Guardians to bring them up to a higher level of quality. I really hope you all understand just how strong MindLoader is as a partner. When it comes to the squad RPG genre, this is some of what we're talking about as overall portion of the market. Squad RPGs make up a sizable mix of it. ARPGs, ILRPGs, survival RPGs, also in RPGs in general, make up a pretty big proportion, and I believe we're targeting the right area for GOG, but some of this data is what we were looking at in how we achieve those core executive goals of mass adoption. Again, this is targeting which one we're going to strike for. We really do believe deeply that the squad RPG space is fragmented and is ready for somebody to come in and be a disruptor and win in that space. And some of this comes down to, how much do you believe that Web3 and NFTs done right to enhance players' experience, to solve problems for players, to give players utility throughout the project, how much that's going to really solve it? I believe quite a bit, and that's something that we're going to continue to iterate in the modules that we bring to the overall Immutable ecosystem and GOG itself. But again, this graph, a key piece of why we're targeting the squad RPG space. So, at a very high level, when it comes to the core loop, the solo roguelike loop, some of how that's going to look. When you're going through the dungeon, you've got these options at key points of, are you going to go to a shop? Are you going to go to a treasure room? Are you going to go to an elite battle room? If you're going to the treasure room, that is zero risk in terms of you're going to go there, you're going to get rewards out of ecosystem. If you go to the shop, it's more of a balance. Are you going to spend some of the resources you've used on the run to gain rewards, perhaps purchase rune upgrades? Or are you going to go to the elite battle room? The elite battle room, has the potential to drop more rare bits, but it's also going to be a place where you're potentially going to end your run. Those key pieces of choice are going to determine how deep you go, how much you get from a dungeon run experience, how much reward you're going to get for the energy you spent to do that run. If you're going to go into battle, this is from MindLoader's original game. This is obviously not updated with GDR. This is some of the foundational GIF that is why I went with MindLoader. But you'll go into do that battle, you'll win or lose. If you win, you're coming back out and you're making those choices. You're getting the rewards out of that stage. Essentially, you're going to go through that over and over again until you hit the end of the dungeon or you failed out and you have to restart. From there, we take that into the merge inventory loop. This is from the existing build. The resources you acquire will come out to this merge board. You'll merge those together to go up tier. The higher tier resources are then used in things like that last recipe on the left. Ultimately, your goal here is to craft a new piece of gear for one of your guardians. That little target shows you where you're going. Here,
Yeah,
these
just
are
a
the
question
pieces.
to you.
Yep.
You know, like the pieces of art that you're showing, for example, like the inventory system and everything. Are these like MindLoader? Like, if this someone asks this what the art is going to look like art wise. Just if you want to clarify for that as well, if that's okay.
Uh, Sorry, which
I think, for
from the
example,
GIF or
from the last slide, I think the core loop slide where you had the merge inventory loop and also the solo roguelite loop. So I think maybe the one
yeah.
that you've said right now, yeah.
Basically the GIF is uh, like once we have all of the animation VFX and everything going, like combat will be very similar to that. The rendering pipeline will be slightly different to account for the look of GOG. But all of this is work in progress. Like none of this is final. A lot of these are placeholder icons uh, to get us to final art. Again, this is in the vein of getting the systems up and working quickly rather than waiting for perfection. But a lot of these screens are um, moving towards finals. So like that roguelike choice screen is one of the more developed screens, but all of the icons on it are still placeholder. Uh,
Awesome. Thanks for that.
yep. Yeah. So in this case, if you merge enough that you can go create the advanced materials, which are those green and pink icons to then craft your piece of equipment. You then equip your guardian. You're able to go deeper into the roguelike. You sort of rinse, repeat at a high level. Now, obviously, if you look at this beyond the core sort of Web 2 loop, there's going to be places where you could go out to the marketplace to buy some of these merge advanced crafting materials to upgrade your equipment to craft them. But at its most basic, this is the loop that players are going to be going through. When it comes to that AI roguelike core loop, you're selecting the dungeon that you're going into it. You're selecting your squad loadout. You're going to those encounters. If you're defeated, you basically get your rewards and you go to upgrade to come back in. If you succeed the battle, it's like, have you completed the dungeon? If yes, again, next dungeon unlocks, you go into the reward upgrade loop. If not, you're going through the additional nodes and delving deeper and deeper to the dungeon. At its most basic right here, what we're looking at is dungeons for the story mode would have two tiers, regular and hard. Each one would have somewhere between 40 to 60 nodes. We're going to have to look more at exactly what that comes to once we start playing them more deeply. When it comes to the Endless Dungeon, it is the loop, except there's no is it cleared. The Endless Dungeon, you keep delving deeper and deeper and deeper. It keeps getting more challenging. The rewards get more, I guess, extreme as you delve deeper into it. And it gives that key point of competition of how deep can you go. Do we have additional, leaders that's up for debate, but it's like, do we have speed runs? How quickly can you get as deep as possible into the Endless Dungeon? Are there restrictions on the Guardians looking into particular Endless Dungeon runs, for specific events? There's a lot of possibility space on how that would look. Merge inventory, again, pretty straightforward, simple overview here, but you generate resources through delving into the dungeons, merge those resources, take them to crafting. You can, at higher level tiers, take those resources and craft them into advanced components, which you can mint and sell, and potentially take out to fiat. You're crafting, artifacts and equipment, which allow you to complete harder content and, sort of rinse, repeat that loop. Wanted to delve a little bit into the world and how we're building it. So when we're looking at that first MVP light launch, we're looking at going through 4 key parts of the world. Requiem is the first, and I'm not going to read all that. If people want to screenshot and dive into, feel free, but I'm conscious of time. But in Requiem, part of what MindLoader has been working on are some of the key rooms that you'll encounter. This is an example of a shop for a vendor who could be selling, key crafting components for recipe shards, things of that nature. And it will be a balance of shops of things that benefit you within the run and things that benefit your meta progression. And some of it is making a choice of, are you looking in the run to maximize your sort of external rewards or internal rewards to get deeper into the run, and finding that balance throughout. This is an example of a major treasure room where this might be a rare encounter that when you reach it, again, getting more rewards out of the mix. This is an example of a healing room. So if your guardians are running low on health, going to a healing room, again, allows you to spend that health in additional difficult encounters, boss encounters, to complete things. But it is a room where you're not getting any rewards out of that stage, so it's making that choice of balance of which place you go. One of the places that is still in the theory crafting stages and open to debate, but something I'd love the community feedback in, is allowing you to access your deeper reserve of guardians in a single run. So some of this comes down to, are you just looking to develop one core squad, or are you looking to develop multiple squads? Each dungeon will have different balances of elements and monsters, which will, I believe, incentivize players to build out different squads. But if we go forward with allowing you to swap out guardians through a run, it again opens up much more possibilities for people to want more characters in their reservoir to encounter harder challenges. And this is an example of that screen of filtering out things to specifically go for this fight. Brimstone is where players will go next, the Infernal Cauldron. And again, if you want to screenshot this to go through the finer details, please do. And this is some of the work that MindLoader is doing on the monsters and the environments. Obviously, the characters are in T-poses right now. This is not completely refined, but gives you a sense of the environments that you'll be delving through. And these are actual shots of the in Unity version of that. Next place that we'll be going is the Deadlands. This is yet to be started yet. But it's what we're going to be working on next in the mix with MindLoader. And after the Deadlands, we're going to be returning to Requiem, but it will be in a different context with new monsters, some new rooms. And if I go into too much more, Ella and the narrative team are going to come after me. So you're going to have to leave that with a little bit of anticipation of what's going to come on that sort of cycle back. And more Brimstone slides out of order. This is another example of more zoomed in of this thing that I had shown for that sort of roguelike choice of which room you're going to next. Obviously, icons placeholder here. But some of what we're building out in this system is the extent of all of the rooms in each dungeon that you're going to be able to choose. Elite battle rooms, regular battle rooms, shops, treasure rooms, resurrection rooms if you've lost some guardians along the way, unique encounter rooms potentially. There's a lot of possibility space here. And again, this is what I love about this roguelike genre. It's what I love about what we can do with the game moving forward. In that endless dungeon, the ability to add new rooms into the mix for players to go experience and discover, it allows us to make changes to the overall game that really expand out what is possible. And I don't believe that this is complete, because some of it too is, even if you had 3 elite rooms to go to, each elite room can have a different set of monsters, each elite room can have a different set of rewards. So ensuring that players have the right information to go choose which encounter they're going into is a key part of the mix. For those of you who were curious about what I was alluding to previously with sort of runes and upgrades, this was the mock-up where they, in some ways, a bit throwaway, like these Tetris pieces on early examples of runes during our visit to MindLoader, they shared you know their thought on how they could add additional choice into the system, additional sort of like complexity beyond just like Demon Sword rare up to legendary here on some of the challenge of choosing which ones to keep to help you get deeper into the run. Throwaway text on these, but again, this is some of how we're looking to give players meaningful choices throughout the dungeon runs on how they enhance your ability to just make it deeper. I can't say some of the stuff that's hidden in here without, again, spoiling narrative things that I'm not allowed to spoil. But some new concepts for shopkeepers, the goblins below, new boss monsters above that we've been working with MindLoader on, additional boss monsters here in the mix. But yeah, there's some elements here that will tie directly into the story and how it's impacting the world of Elderym that we will get to more in the future. When I talked about the narrative structure we're looking to bring into GOG, again, during the main dungeon, the 32 main story dialogue scenes, where at the beginning and end of each dungeon through the world, you're going to have these cutscenes to help introduce players into the world of Elderym and Guild of Guardians, get to know the characters and the challenges they face at this time in existence. We are going to look at having first-time user experience, onboarding narrative as well to help players learn how to play the game and to help the Guardians guide them through the initial experience. Delve memories. This is a place where I think there's the most room for change, so take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. But we're looking at, in the Endless Dungeon, having these memories being key things that you can uncover, and having pre-rendered clips that explore some of the deep past of the world of Elderym. Character banter is what I talked about, where depending on the Guardians you have in the mix, specific Guardians will have banter between other Guardians, helping explain their relationship in the world of Elderym. And then just characters themselves, as they're going through a dungeon without any impact on other characters in the mix. This is a little bit more recent version of some of the crafting. Looking at that little round button is something that would let you target a specific crafting recipe to have it on your merge board, so you knew exactly what you're trying to target, and it would let you know that you've created the key bits along the way. Some of these materials would be directly from the merge board. Other would be advanced crafting materials that you use the merge elements to create. And again, some of these would be a mix of things that are in the Web 2 space and could be in the Web 3 space. As we go deeper into the tiers, higher up, more of those elements will be in the NFT space. Earlier on, we expect to have more of it be Web 2. One of the key inflection points we're looking at along the way from sort of taking players on that journey from getting them into Web 2 up to Web 3 is, what is that inflection point? Because having that inflection point be at the key space, obviously people who are more in the know could get into it sooner. But taking players, particularly from the Web 2 space, into it is going to be a key decision you make. And yes, energy is up at the top. Energy is going to play a key part in crafting, in merging, and in running dungeons themselves. Again, version of the merge board. At this point, this person needs to merge things or throw them into the backpack to make more space for things on the board. We are looking at challenges such as overflow and how that will work, when you're coming out of dungeon runs in all of this system. One of the other key inflection points in the project is looking at the balance of sort of Eastern UI aesthetics with Western UI aesthetics. With Eastern, you're looking at more simple, clean UI. With Western, user interfaces and games are usually much more densely packed. And some of what we're working through with MindLoader as they have more of that, Western Asian APAC view of UI UX is ensuring that we appeal to both. A key area of growth we see for Web3 and NFT and squad-based games is ensuring that we can hit where a lot of our core audience is today, the United States and other regions, with appealing to people throughout Asia Pacific. We see a lot more, particularly Web3 adoption in APAC overall. But yes, general star-up hero UI here with some, again, examples of stats and otherwise, definitely not final. We definitely have more coming. So I have alluded to a couple times here, leaderboards and rewards, with leaderboards being a key place for us to input things like, GOG into the mix for players, leaderboards, and ensuring that players are competing is a key place of, and I think there's a question on it that we'll get to in more detail. But when we look at bots in the system, particularly with AI controlling a lot of the combat, making sure that there is play space for players to optimize the bots. And of course, Web3 integrations is coming. All right. That was a lot. Thank you so much for your patience through that. Hopefully it gives you a better picture of some of what is to come.
Yeah, thank you, Clay. I think you took us, and also the team that put together that PowerPoint as well. I think that's quite exciting. I think a lot of people really, I think I saw in the chat, like after people actually saw the screenshots and everything that's actually being built, it's one thing to talk about it, but another thing to actually like see with your own eyes, right? So yeah, that was an awesome PowerPoint. So I know we don't have much time left now, but there are a few more questions that we want to get to. Clay, you just mentioned about bots. So yeah, funnily enough, that is actually the next question. Quite important question as well, I believe. So what will be your measures to prevent bots from abusing the auto battle feature?
Yeah, so bots have been the bane of my existence throughout my long career in games. But one of the advantages that we do have with Guild of Guardians is all of the learnings from Gods Unchained over the last few years of running it, because bots have been a major challenge, particularly when we introduced Play and Earn with the Blessing of the Gods event. Huge proliferation of bots there. But we have been beating back that tide, and it is a place where I do believe Immutable stands out against some of our competitors in the Web3 space. For a lot of games, they've just accepted that bots are part of the community, and because they pump those numbers, have not necessarily been fighting back as hard against it. But we have been working very hard to ensure that bots are not a part of our overall ecosystem. And there are multiple angles of attack from our end when it comes to bots. We put a lot of effort into stopping them at the front door by making it more challenging for bots to sign up and be validated as they enter into the game. And we put a lot of work into the design of the systems themselves. And this is a place where I know in my heart of hearts as a player, I too am often frustrated by energy. But energy is a key mechanic for fighting back against bots. One of the things that bots have is infinite time and effort. Optimizing energy's transition into resources is a place where bots, I believe, will be hampered. And that comes down into like, how are we designing the systems themselves? With the advent of AI really exploding over the course of just this last, gosh, it feels like years, but months, AI is also a place that can assist us in the fight against bots, more so than even bot detection programs of the past. Bots, like AI modules embedded directly into the Unity project itself, can do an exceptional job of identifying behavior, because AI right now is not actually intelligent, but what it is it's growing exceptional at detecting patterns and detecting the difference between patterns um, of real players versus the behavior of bots, it is an infinite escalation of what the bot makers are doing and our ability to detect and fight back against them. But I do think AI is something that is giving us tools that we haven't had before to more easily fight back and ban bots, from the overall ecosystem. Um, TLDR, though, here on bots, absolutely a concern. Even if it was an ARPG at this point, bots would still be a concern. And some of that is with the old game. Like, a bot could have taken Guardians through dungeons effectively in the old, because the majority of your Guardians were controlled by AI. We will continue to fight this fight. The bot makers will continue to push back against us and find new ways of attack. This will be ongoing, but it's something that we're more than ready to push back on.
Yeah, I think for whatever game it is, whether it's like Web 2, but especially Web 3 for obvious reasons, the question of bots is always like in the heads of the community and also the people building the game. So it was great that we were actually able to directly answer that question, Clay, and it seems like we are hopefully well equipped to dealing with the problem head on. So thanks for that answer. So the next question is, let me pull this up. Regarding esports, so how can the team proudly say that the game is an esports title when you can only do order battle? How are the esport mechanics relevant to the new mechanics?
Yeah, that is a good question. I do think some of it is mine. So I'm coming into the mix here, but my understanding is the partnership with the esports teams was focused on bringing together the worlds of the top esports teams and their fans and introducing them into the GOG ecosystem through deep in-game IP integration into our universe. So it's bringing these esports team characters to life within Guild of Guardians. It was intended to expose more people to GOG in mainstream gaming and allow them to represent for their favorite esports teams in Web3 in Guild of Guardians. Our overall plans for our esports partnership remains unchanged. Our esports NFT utilities remain the same, granting holders access to special leaderboard competitions and exclusive in-game and out-of-game rewards. And a lot of this does come down to how this will integrate into those leaderboard events. It is going to be one of our primary areas of competition. There will be others that I believe will come with time, particularly around guilds, guild rates, and the like. In terms of esports, I don't think much has changed, is the TLDR there.
Awesome, thanks for that. I know we're both being conscious of time, so let's try and roll through some of these last questions. So the next question is, how long will the advantage for a rare, epic, legendary founder be compared to a person who plays completely free to play?
Yeah, so this one is complicated to answer, but founder NFTs will have an inherent advantage in that they're going to start at a higher star level than Guardians that you're getting out of free to play. They're going to be starting at 1 star. Those 1-star Guardians can be upgraded by players, but the star level alone is not the only differentiator between founder and other Guardians. So I talked about this earlier in the AMA. But each Guardian will have an ultimate ability, they will have automatic skills, and they will have passive skills associated with them. I'm going to go into some examples, for example only, but some of those passive skills will be combat related. Some of them will not be combat related, and this is a place where I do think we have a lot of room for play. So one of the examples I've given the team and how I'm thinking about this as the game director is when it comes to passive skills, this could be how you craft your Guardian squad to go tackle a specific dungeon. Those passive skills could be things related to when you have this Guardian in the group, you get 20% more rewards of the iron variety for crafting, or the magic variety for crafting, or the cloth variety of crafting. It could allow for additional like gold optimization. So it doesn't just have to be combat related, but like how those passive skills play out could have impacts on how the rewards and everything ties out into the metagame economy. This could go so far too as increasing the random chance for rare rooms to appear. There's a lot of space to play here. And when we look at founder heroes and how they will differentiate from the heroes that are not founder heroes, throughout the game, that balance of like ultimate automatic skills and passive skills will play a part in helping them stand out. Still a lot of work to do here to populate this across all the Guardians in the game, to play test it, to balance it, iterate through it. But I do believe Founder Guardians will have a unique place within the meta beyond just the star advantage that they'll have at the beginning. The other part of this is each Guardian will have key attributes as well that will grow with their level. Currently looking at level being gated by star. So at a certain point, your Guardian would cap out until you star it up further, which is again is some of that initial star advantage that the founder Guardians would have. But the growth rates would be unique per Guardian. Not every Guardian would have the exact same growth rates. Again, this is some of what makes each Guardian unique. And this is, again, a place where the Founder Guardians can stand out in their combination and growth rate of these skills. The goal here is not to make Founder Guardians untouchable, where if you do not have them, you cannot at any point even hope to compete. But it is absolutely to use all of these elements in combination to ensure that the Founder Guardians have a place in the meta of Guild of Guardians. We have a lot of work to do here. We are looking at some other concepts as well of when NFTs or when Guardians are taken from sort of Web 2 into the NFT space, having some other things that help them stand apart as the in development name only God level associated with the NFT. As we get more details around what this is, we will absolutely share with people in the community.
Awesome, thanks for that, Clay. And I think I just want to make a side comment as well. I know there's a lot of excitement in the comment section, and people have a lot of questions. Just another reminder: next week we will have another AMA that'll be more game focused as well. But we should keep in mind Clay is also human, as great as he is. So we have been spending quite a while on the AMA, so we can't answer everything today. But just another reminder: next week we do have another AMA as well.
Yeah, the good news is we have the AMA next week, so we can pick up some of these questions that we've got answers to that we haven't touched with there, as well as obviously a whole lot of content has been covered in this AMA.
Yeah.
That will lead to additional questions, so keep them coming in the Discord AMA channel, and we can look to tackle them there as well. With those additional voices in the mix from Mindloader and Dan as well.
I think we have a handful left that we put aside here. So will founders and esport heroes have a path to max stars that doesn't break the bank? For example, some kind of daily quest that lets you grind for specific shards to ultimately max out your heroes.
Yeah, so this is a case where I thought it was a great question. There is no plan at the moment to include such a system at launch. Part of the challenge there is my take on reading our promises to the community is this would break some of them if we included a system like this. So happy for feedback on it, because it is effectively creating, based off of how starting up characters work, it is creating the equivalent of NFTs in the overall ecosystem. But at the same time, based off of where we land at that initial star level, there is limited scope, particularly for some of the rare NFTs. Depending on just how many top star heroes could exist. So this is something that happy to work with the community on how we find the best path ahead.
Awesome. Next question is there a vision that this game will have multiple games slash gameplay where we can use the same assets all throughout any of the games under GOG? For example, can we take our assets from this order battle and play it on a MOBA, ARPG, turn-based game, etc.? So I think we kind of touched on this at the beginning of the AMA as well, but feel free to also hit this again, Clay.
Yeah, so, my crystal ball only sees so many years ahead. If we achieve everything we're looking to achieve in, that gold standard future where everything aligns, we solve a lot of the key challenges with friction in Web3. We're able to appeal to a mass audience. GOG is a great success both for Immutable and the community, for our founders. This becomes more possible. I have said on many a podcast that the thing I'm looking for first in the overall ecosystem is economic interoperability. So when you look at things like advanced crafting materials being generated and traded on the marketplace for GOG, having crafting recipes that use some of those, use Gadra and Jane cards to create additional unique NFTs in the mix. That's some of the things I want to experiment with next. But direct interoperability across a GOG ecosystem where we're able to, like some of the most successful franchises in existence, have the MOBA, actually have a true auto battler, have an ARPG. Would love to work with a partner on a true ARPG in this world. Or, more lighter fare like puzzle games. I think it's plausible. A lot of things have to happen before that becomes true, but plausible.
Yeah, like Clay said, like the crystal ball only goes so far, right? I do think that GOG and Immutable, we are generally something makes sense and it's aligned with what we think is the best step for the project. It's something that's definitely was on the table. So the next question is, what are the eligibility requirements for the demo in Q2/Q3?
Sorry. Okay, I was like, I need to go back to the doc. I can't just answer this one off the top of my head.
Yeah, no
I
worries.
was like, what did we work with marketing on here? We will be prioritizing our early supporters, such as founder NFT holders and token holders, for the Beautiful Corner playtest and limited beta in Q2, Q3. We will also include key strategic partners as well as media and influencers to support our marketing efforts here. So obviously, the key part of that is for the people who have been on this extended journey with us, ensuring that they are able to get a feel for things. And I do believe, as people are able to get their hands on it, a lot of what is in theory today, hopefully the presentation gave people a little bit more insight into how it could be. But getting your hands on it is what makes it real. And for clarity, the same is true for me. Again, throughout my career, I can put forward the core loops, I can put forward the vision, but you never really quite know for sure until you get to play it. The first build was very rough, but I saw the pieces coming together, and when I put on my goggles, I can see where it then develops into the Beautiful Corner. This is going to be a key step for making it real. And echoing back all the way to the beginning, it's key pieces like this that help us build trust.
Awesome. Sorry, I was replying to the question. Is Chris's hair still pink? And I said nope.
No, I am complete gray at the moment, and gray bearded as well.
That's definitely the most important question in the AMA, so I'm glad we got that addressed. So I think the last question that we want to kind of top things off with, and it's a bit on the side as well, but very exciting actually, is what is the marketing vision before the launch of the game?
Feel like you should be answering this one, not me. Okay, so marketing vision for the launch of GOG is an ambitious one. The marketing team will, who I am clearly not the marketing team, will be happy to answer more details outside of the AMA. The TLDR is that we're in the middle of planning for a worldwide integrated marketing campaign. As we head into launch, we'll continue to market the game to mobile RPG gamers and to build upon the 1 million pre-registrations so we can activate them at launch. We'll be leaning heavily into influencer marketing and advertising across major platforms to market GOG to our target audiences across Web 2 and Web 3 at launch. We'll be activating key strategic partners across the Immutable ecosystem and network as well. This is just a slice of our overall marketing efforts. We'll also be leveraging referrals and incentives to grow the game in the months to come. This is a key part of leveraging the token. As a bit of a spoiler, we've started production on an epic cinematic trailer that will blow our previous trailers out of the water. Expect a deeply narrative-driven trailer of AAA quality. And in hint, we're also producing a beautiful song to accompany it. We're working with production and music vendors that worked on League of Legends and other AAA trailers. If you all want a preview, let me know, and I'll try to beg marketing to release a sneak peek or sneak hearing. When it comes to this trailer, I do want to tell a little bit of a story. Some of you may know Justin Hulog, who is my boss, hired him into above me to help guide the Immutable studio overall as it grew. And one of the things I love about working with Justin is he has a ton of energy of exploring the edges of possibility. And we often get together for our one-on-ones and go for a walk, and he will pepper me with ideas. And we have a relationship where I can be pretty clear back, like, nope, not that one, not that one. And we had a one-on-one where he hands me his phone, and he's like, I got an idea here, I need you to listen to this. And I've done many trailers throughout my career. It's one of the first times in my long career where we've had the music and everything in place at the start, and it's helped guide the vision of what it could be. And I'm not sure I would want to go back to the other way of doing it, because it's really coming together to evoke a lot of the emotion that will guide players into the world of Elderym and Guild of Guardians. And that emotional connection can be really important. One of the ways I describe it is, even in games like League of Legends, since we're running with that as an example, you have your character on screen that you're playing moment to moment, but a lot of the emotion you carry through is of that beautifully rendered painting of them that you see, during character selection, when you're loading in. And some of it is, what is that greater context of what you're doing? And this song, this trailer, and all of the work we've been putting into the narrative, the world building of Guild of Guardians, will give you that greater context moving ahead. We're way over now. I'm already missing my next meeting. Hopefully they forgive me.
No, I'm sure this is quite important, and I think the community appreciates it as well, Clay. And I think you said that's a question I should probably take, but I think you kind of summed it up of why you're actually sometimes the best person, because the way you can actually answer questions and take us on the journey with you is actually really, really impressive. And I do want to say, actually, at the Immutable offsite, I forgot which one it was. A recent one, because there's GTM and another marketing one. We actually were able to listen to part of that song that they're referring to that was in production. And I can say it's actually, it's something high quality. It's nothing that too cheesy that you'd expect like a cartoon or something to have. Nothing like that. And hopefully we can release something, a bit of a teaser. I don't know when, come with pitchforks at me, but very exciting stuff for sure. So that's something that we wanted to kind of leave the community on a high note, because there's definitely a lot of things planned for the launch of the game.
Yeah, and definitely keep the questions coming. Looking forward to connecting more with you guys in next week's AMA. I'll be there as well. The final part here, for me, the last, and I'm going to make this about me, because why not? I get to do that. I've been I've been talking a lot here.
Make it about you.
The last 6 months have been incredibly intense. What we've been working on here has been really challenging to pull off. There's been a lot of due diligence when it's come to the partners we've vetted. Um, and yeah, this is something that I have a lot of experience with. The thing I will echo back to is, my most successful game ever was Magic the Gathering Arena. And there are a lot of parallels between where Guild of Guardians is at and where MTGA was at. When I took over the project for MTGA, it had been in production uh, for, at that point, somewhere between 6 and 7 years. And it was in a dire state. Uh, it was not particularly playable. It had all sorts of flaws. And in doing the reboot between when I took over and when we launched, we were looking at about a year and a half. And a lot of it comes down to having a laser focus on what you're looking to deliver. And a lot of my laser focus is on those four key goals in the executive summary. And if things aren't letting us hit that for that initial launch, they will be delayed into later releases as we look to continue to update the game and build it live. But I am bringing that laser focus to the project, and that is not comfortable. That is not fun. It leads to a lot of very difficult discussions with the community about what's changing. But it is what helps games hone in on what they need to be to succeed. And I believe we have all of those key pieces in place with Guild of Guardians. And I do have to stress just how important MindLoader is to that mix. The team here at Immutable is going to be focusing in on those Web 2, Web 3 integration pieces, on how we carry forward the promises that have been made to this new product. But MindLoader is developing the game, and we've done everything in our power to unleash them to be as creative as possible and bring their talents to bear. And one of the things that I told the team and all of the studio at the recent offsite we had that you may have seen some pictures from is the difference in my stress levels prior to the visit to Shanghai and after was astronomical. GOG has been keeping me up at night. There have been a lot of sleepless nights for me because this is a major endeavor to do what we're trying to do. And getting to know the MindLoader team, getting to see them in action with, over the course of that week we were there, we were doing, quick turnaround iterations on the economy, on the design, on the visuals, the animations, and seeing the speed at which they move and the quality at which they can deliver. They have me so bullish on what we're going to be able to build together. So if you carry anything forward in your hearts, I hope you do carry that. Thank you so much for listening to me pontificate over the last long bit here. Look forward to talking to you more forward at future AMAs and in the Discord. Take
Yeah,
care.
no worries, Clay. I know that you're probably like 15 minutes late, so yeah, feel free to drop off. But I think, I speak for everyone when we say we truly appreciate your time and all the knowledge and expertise that you brought today. So thanks very much. So yeah, feel free to leave whenever, Clay. I think just to add to what also was Clay was saying was that change is just never easy for anyone. And like Clay said, like sometimes there's going to be difficult decisions that need to be made. But I think from today, hopefully, and also going forward, we can see that whenever we do need to have these discussions, we can hopefully, actually have one of these town halls and talk to the community about the process and give a rationale of why these things are happening. And I think at the end of the day, it's never easy, but I think people do understand at the end of it. And finally, next week with AMA with Clay again, we're very lucky, and also Andrew Friday, so from MindLoader. So definitely don't miss that, and I'll start another channel for questions for that AMA. But yeah, that wraps it up. So thanks very much, everyone. And thank you, Clay, once again. See you guys. Take care.